Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 143. I'm Tony Caliendo, author of Less Over More and executive coach here at Rethink Coaching. I want to welcome you, and as always, thank you for sharing your time with me. Time truly is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to share your time with me truly does mean a great deal. Today, I want to discuss with you a topic that is very timely. It may be hard to believe, but here we are almost at the mid-year point of 2026. I don't know if you're like me, I'm looking at the calendar and I'm a bit in disbelief that we're at this stage of the year. It has seemed to have gone by so quickly. And what can happen if you're not consciously aware of it is you may be experiencing some goal drift right now, and we need to move you back into goal activation or get you into goal activation to protect the goal that you set for yourself for this year. And what I know to be true is goal drift happens most when we confuse activity with alignment. There's this thing that happens in our mind where we almost justify that our results because we've stayed busy and we've done all of these things. The reality is they may not be the right things, and we're doing things just to keep ourselves busy and to avoid the activities that would actually get us to move towards goal. I know that people who are experiencing this are not folks who have abandoned their goals. I believe with all of my heart and soul that people still hold on to the goal that they set for themselves, and it hasn't been abandoned. Yet what they're doing is slowly drifting away from them through their actions. It's that thing we've talked about before, that gradually and then suddenly. Gradually, we stop doing the things that were moving us toward our goals. Suddenly, we are drifted far from our goal and just need to get back on track. I don't believe that there's not an opportunity for us to get back on track and to achieve our goal. Even at mid-year, you still have time to make things happen. So just take a look at the goal you set and your reality and have a moment to think, have I drifted away from the goals that I've set? Did I drift away from my checkpoints where I should be? Is there a gap between my actual and my goal? If there is, you've experienced goal drift. You just may not have known that's what it was. It is not quitting. I'm going to say that again. I just want to make sure you understand that goal drift rarely looks like quitting. What it is disguised as, though, is busyness. It's again that part of your brain that sees this goal and sees that there's some different strategies or activities that we must take to get there. And it wants to protect you from failing because it views that as dangerous. And so it will pull you back into doing old activities that it knows you can handle. It knows that you know how to do. And gradually and suddenly you're back doing what you used to be doing when you had an old goal, not what you need to be doing for your new goal. Now, don't get me wrong. When people are experiencing this, they can still be working really, really hard. Remember, it's not quitting. They're telling themselves, or you might be telling yourselves, hey, I'm working really, really hard here. I don't understand why I'm not at goal, right? It's that movement or that activity is not always what matters. It's the right activities that matter. So just do a check-in with yourself. Look and see if you've drifted from the strategies that are going to get you to the new goal. What I want you to do is to ask yourself this really important question, and it's about your calendar. Does my calendar reflect my stated goals or my accumulated distractions? The way your brain is working and you are living in a place of doing the wrong more is not meant to harm you. It is really meant to protect you, yet it allows you to get distracted from what really matters most. So this is really important. Just do a check-in with yourself first. I'll admit there's times that I've fallen prey to this because being a human being and setting some really aggressive goals for myself, my mind is doing the same thing. It's saying, yeah, let's kind of back off a little bit. Let's do what we know works so we can celebrate some wins. We'll get to that goal later. And that is the onset of goal drift and where we need to get back to goal activation to get back on track. I've done it myself. And the most important thing that you can do is constant check in and accountability. And I know sometimes accountability can feel harsh or feel like a punitive thing, yet it's really not. If you're not holding yourself accountable or have a coach that you work with to help you be accountable, you may be experiencing drift at a greater level because you're just not aware, you're oblivious to where you truly are versus where you projected you would be. Now, there is a hidden cause, right? We'll set goals that match our expectations, but not our identity. I want you to hear this because there are so many times that we've set a goal based upon what we think is expected of us versus what's in alignment with our identity. I had this as just an entire topic of a podcast, maybe 5 episodes ago, where we talked about identity and the importance of it. It is really important that you assess your goals and make sure that you didn't set them based upon some external expectation versus what your true identity is. Really, really important. Many of our goals that were told to us, or we inherited, or we borrowed, or we've been socially conditioned to do. And that can be really challenging because it's out of alignment with who you really are. I was part of an organization that, I'm not saying it was right or wrong, but I was part of an organization that had a habit of when you were achieving goal, just to tell you for the next year, just double your goal. Set this outrageous goal. While I loved the part that it got you to think bigger, when we set unrealistic goals that aren't in alignment with our identity, that is somebody else's grand idea, we're really setting ourselves up for failure. And in my opinion, you're at greatest risk of goal drift when you allow somebody else to set your goals. You're disconnected from who you really are. This goal is somebody else's. It doesn't belong to you. And so there is a true disconnection. I know when I coach people, a lot of times, especially in the early part of our partnership or relationship or in one of the group programs, or even when I'm speaking to a group, sometimes someone will ask me, help me set my goal. And I will help you. I will never set it for you. I think this is really important to understand. If somebody is giving you your goal, it's not yours. You don't own it. It's not internal, and you're putting yourself at risk. It's not always about bigger, more, faster, more accumulation. That's not what it's about. You really have to be in touch and connected to the goal that you set. Now, I'm not saying, personally, myself, I have set some really aggressive goals. Last year, I set the goal of writing a book, in addition to growing the coaching company, in addition to doing keynote speaking, in addition to a few things. The goals were very, very aggressive, but they were mine. Nobody came to me and said, you're going to write a book this year. And then I had all these actions on how I was going to get the book written. But because the book wasn't my idea or my goal, I would avoid the activities. So just be aware of the goals that you set. Are they yours? Are they yours because it matters to you? Are they yours because of the impact they're going to make? I think that is one of the biggest disconnects that can happen when we experience goal drift is we forget about the impact that the goal will have, especially if it's not a goal that you set. If you're pursuing a goal that never belonged to you, you're going to get disconnected. It's just going to happen. I was talking to a group of agents recently and really, really intelligent entrepreneurs. And there was this disconnect between the goal and the impact. And as soon as we connected that and said, okay, so if we're off by X amount of units per year, what would be the potential income from those units? And we came up with the dollar amount. And I simply asked, if I wrote you a check today for that dollar amount, what would it do for you? What would be the impact? And they lit up, their energy changed, and they knew exactly what they would have been able to do. And then you pose the question, are you okay giving that up? That little shift of connecting back to the goal you set is really, really important. So if you haven't done this and you've experienced goal drift, I'm going to invite you to go back to the goals that you set and to look at the impact that when you achieve that goal is going to be made. I always say, what's the impact on you? What's the impact on your family and friends? What's the impact on your team if you have a team? What's the impact on your legacy? when you can connect emotionally to that goal, you'll realize if you've drifted, and it will help you get back into action to reactivate that really important goal to you. Sometimes we just have to make the emotional connection to it. Many times, goal drift is happening because when we have success without clarity, it might create goal fatigue. This is important. Too many goals create diluted execution, right? Think about this. I just said I had set some major goals for myself for 2025 and 2026. I can do this because I'm at a level of mastery in some of my businesses. Coaching, I'm at a level of mastery. I was not at a level of mastery of writing a book. I'm at a level of mastery at growing group programs and coaching programs. So I set several goals. You have to be aware of where are you with the potential of achieving that goal. If every goal that I set for myself for the year is not where I have experience or a level of mastery on it, and they're all new, I may have created a bit of overwhelm and overload for myself just because so many of them were uncertain. And I'm going to put my brain into overdrive saying, I got to protect you. We're going to go back to doing our old goals because we know how to do that and we're going to miss it. So more goals can often produce less progress. You have to know where you are in the journey of setting the right amount of goals and the right kind of goals. So this is again where it's incredibly helpful if you have a coach that can help you out. I've seen this happen, not with the clients that I have the privilege of coaching for a long time, because this is something we've worked on year after year. But I have seen this happen with clients before where they came with this laundry list of goals. And while it made me very happy that they were thinking really, really big, we had to edit that list down a little bit to the most important goals, to the goals that would have the most impact, to a few of the goals that they had achieved a certain level of success in the past. So this stretch wasn't going from zero, it was going from a higher point to the next higher point. It makes a difference. If you're not aligned with your goals, if you've just set a ton of goals, you're going to be out of alignment. Aligned goals equal power. So just really make sure you haven't over fragmented yourself, that you haven't created all of these distractions by setting all of these unrealistic goals. And just know that when we get back into goal activation, it will happen when you have really defined the right activities, or like I like to say, the right more activities. Really take a look at what's going on. Goal drift will accelerate when noise becomes your operating system. This is really critical for you to hear this. The environment around you will either reinforce activation or reinforce your distraction. All right. So we've talked about all of the things that can cause goal drift. Now I want you to think about if you're in that space, which it's fine if you are. It's okay. I want to talk to you about getting into goal activation so we can get you back on track. First thing I would look at is, check your goals. Did you overcommit? And make sure that they're your goals and that you're in alignment with them. And then it's really important that you take a peek around your environment. How many times are you getting distracted, disrupted? Notifications. How many times are you playing the comparison game? How many times are you getting into analysis paralysis with information overload? What type of culture have you created within yourself and your organization? Is it an urgency culture or is it a culture of satisfaction? Really take a look at your environment. And you are responsible for your environment, nobody else. Those things can create a problem. So, notifications team, I remember this was a few years ago with my iPhone. I had notifications on for everything. I was getting notifications from CNN. I was getting notifications from my calendar. I was getting notifications from all different kinds of sources. And I was constantly being distracted. And a conversation with my coach, we turned off every single notification, text, email, DMs, all of that was shut off. The only notification that I have on my phone right now, there's two, is my calendar And then I have a motivation app that sends me motivational quotes throughout the day. Those are the only two notifications that I have on. I took control of my environment. I took control of what and how much I allow to come in. Your environment will train your attention. So if I've created an environment of peace, which I have, and I've talked about before, if I've created an environment of peace and that I can focus and I can get done the activities that I need to get done, then my attention will be different. If I allowed external forces to control my environment, my attention is going to be distracted all of the time. And I'm going to feel a lot of starting over. So many people think, if you get distracted in the middle of your sales activities, you'll just pick right back up where you were. Any distraction that you get, whether it's a notification, a got a minute from a peer, you allow a phone call to come in, you're starting over. You're not picking back up where you left off. So really pay attention to your environment and create a bunker around yourself that supports what you need to get done. Take a look at who is in your environment. That's also important. I work from home with my spouse, and when my office doors close, that's a signal not to come in and not to bother me. And we have had to come up with some rules working from home so that we don't disrupt. So also take a look at who in your environment could be a potential distractor or a distraction and take care of it. It's more than removing unnecessary tasks. It's really about removing the noise that is going to cause you to fall into goal drift and stay out of goal activation. That is not our ultimate goal. Also, there's a thought pattern that happens when we experience goal drift. Attention or activation gets delayed through our conditional thinking. I've probably said this more than anything else in this podcast, and we're on episode 143, and I've probably said it 300 times. Thoughts drive all results. Thoughts drive all results. And activation gets delayed by our conditional thinking. So our thoughts can be delaying us getting into goal activation. You might hear yourself say, when I have more time, when things calm down, this isn't the right time for me to make that change, whether it's letting a staff member go, hiring somebody. I've heard it a lot that when things calm down, when things get back to normal, it's not the right time. Those are your thoughts interfering with you being in goal activation. I've done this myself when I get to a level where I need to bring on another staff member. Maybe it's another virtual assistant. Maybe it's a real life person. Maybe it's a sales manager, whatever it is. I've done this before where I'm like, I don't have time to slow down to train somebody or to teach them what they need to do. So I'm just going to keep doing it until the right time. And ultimately what I'm doing is drifting because it's not humanly possible to do everything you need to do, especially as your business grows and your goals grow. So really make sure that you're not delaying goal activation through your thoughts. I say this often, it's never the right time. Letting a staff member go, never the right time. Hiring a staff member, it's the right time, but not the right time because I'm too busy. Those are the thoughts that are going to keep you in goal drift versus goal activation. Activation starts by changing your internal narrative, not simply attempting to force the action. So you really do have to sit with the reality of, if I do not do this, what's the impact? Remember, many times we look at things through a logic lens. Look at it through an emotional lens. What's the impact? What would be the difference? Pay attention to that narrative. That'll help you stay in goal activation. Also, goal activation requires strategic subtraction before strategic addition. I really want you to think about this. People try to fix drift by adding more systems, more effort, more pressure, when the answer's not always in doing more. What must you remove for activation to become possible? This is where busyness can disguise itself as strategy and activity to get you to goal. Really sit with your calendar and compare it to what you're doing and make sure that we're doing the right actions. So if there is an activity that I'm doing that I no longer need to do, that somebody else could do, it's a task that must get done, but I don't have to do it. I need to get it off my plate. I need to subtract. I don't need to add more yet because adding more is just going to complicate. First thing I'd go through is I start subtracting. What has to be done that I don't have to be the person to do it? What can be delayed? What can be deleted? What doesn't have to be done that I'm doing out of habit or based on old goals or old identity? Eliminate those first. Then you've created this space to do the correct activities. And chances are you were doing those correct activities, but the wrong more was robbing you time that you could have allocated to the right more activities. So the time that I'm spending doing something that I don't need to do, I could reallocate that time to the most important activity that's going to get me to goal. It's really important that you pay attention, that it's not just about adding immediately, do more, do more, do more. Subtract first and then add or just get back on track. Lastly, activation is built through small wins, not massive reinvention. We tend to do this. We tend to not to celebrate our small wins. We've had this conversation before. I am a huge driver. For me, when I accomplish something and get it done, I don't celebrate. I'm like, that's just what I was supposed to do. Next. And that is a deficiency. We must celebrate the little wins because that keeps our brain knowing that it did something that maybe it didn't want to do or that it viewed as dangerous, but it's no longer dangerous. You did it, you survived, and you can actually celebrate it. Goal activation is rarely some big dramatic activity. It's really just these small little wins that compound on top of each other. But if we don't celebrate them as they happen, we're not giving our brain what it needs to relax and realize that you are winning. You're not losing. You're not at risk of something terrible happening. And we have to do more celebrating. I know, and I'm working on this. It's a constant work in progress. I don't need a lot of accolades. I just don't. I'm just driven by my goals. I'm driven by my success. I'm driven by the life I've created. But those that work for me might need some more celebration. And we have to pay attention because if we help them celebrate their wins versus, well, you did your job, great, next, we're going to create the space of goal activation and help them stay on track. Because as much as you can drift from your goal, so can your team. As much as you can drift from your goal in your personal life, so can your friends and family. We have to be kind of warriors of celebration, warriors of celebrating the win. That makes a huge difference in keeping us in goal activation versus goal drift. I want to close by saying this. Goal drift doesn't happen because you're incapable. It happens because noise conditioning, overcommitment, and misalignment slowly pull you away from what matters most. When I meet someone and I know that they're experiencing goal drift, the thing that gets drifted from the most is usually the most important goal that they set. I don't know why it happens like that because you would think that that is the most critical goal, the most important to you in your life, your celebration, what you want to create. It tends to be the goal that we drift the furthest from. It's almost like you're punishing yourself. So really pay attention. Goal drift is not happening because you're incapable. It's happening because you've allowed noise, your environment, you've allowed conditioning, somebody else to set your goals. You've set too many goals, you've overcommitted, and you are misaligned. Get in alignment and things will change. It's not always about more people. It's sometimes about subtraction. Less can be the path to more. I appreciate you spending some time, and I do want you to take a minute today to have an honest conversation with yourself and see if you're experiencing goal drift. And if you are, implement a few of these actions to get back into goal activation and get back on track. It's the end of May. Okay, if we're off goal, great. What do I do to need to get back on track and to close the gap? Chances are, if you're off goal, you're not off goal by much. You're off goal by a said number. Put some impact to that number. What will it do for you, your family, your friends, your team, your legacy, get emotionally connected to it, and then re-engage. That's probably the quickest way to get back into goal activation. All right. Thanks for being here. I truly, truly appreciate it. And we will see you in a week. Go make it an awesome week. Get back into goal activation. Take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.